Alright, so for my speech today, I chose to do a topic of the Salem witch trials. For my visual aid, I did a timeline of the Salem witch trials, which I thought were the most important events from January 20th, 1692 to September 16th of 1692. So according to the history website, in 1692, a wave of hysteria spread throughout Massachusetts. Within only a few months, more than a quarter of the men, women, and children were accused of witchcraft in the town of Salem. The community was soon full of blame, fear, and false accusations. Okay. The Salem witch trials was a major event in history because of how many people were falsely accused of witchcraft. In the process of trying to eliminate this evil and keep it from spreading, quite a few were executed. When you think of witches, you think of old ugly women at Halloween flying around on broomsticks, but in reality, this was a major event in which many women were accused of witchcraft and hanged for their crimes. After doing extensive research on this topic and having had this in a previous history class, which happens to be one of my favorite units, I feel like I can accurately present this topic. Today I will try to uncover the reasons as to why Salem witch trials occurred and what the outcome was in only a short year. Let's first discuss how the witchcraft was first introduced into Salem, Massachusetts. So according to the article, The Salem Witchcraft Trials by Katie Kay, in January of 1692, a young woman started the experiment with witchcraft and accused other women, which is ultimately why the witchcraft spread. So Tituba, who was Samuel Adams' slave, ultimately introduced witchcraft to Abigail Williams and Betty Paris. So Samuel Paris's 9-year-old daughter, Betty Paris, falls ill, and shortly after that, other girls followed, which basically was short fits and outbursts of screaming, which they found very odd. So in February of 1692, a doctor in Salem concludes that the girls were bewitched. Tituba, the Paris' housekeeper, and Sarah Good and Sarah Osborne were also accused of witchcraft, and all three were later arrested. Because of this, it led to quite an outburst in the community, and fear and sent panic through everyone. So this was really panic in the community when on March 1st, Tituba confesses to witchcraft. So after they were arrested, many others became accused. According to the 1692 Salem Witch Trial Museum website, determiners sat in Salem and hear the cases of witchcraft and decide who was guilty and who was innocent. So in March 1692, Rebecca Nurse was also accused of witchcraft by Abigail Adams, who was part of the beginning three women. She was a very well-respected elderly woman in the community, which goes to show that anybody at this time could be accused for witchcraft. So after that, they started thinking of forms of when they wanted to take it into their own hands by punishing these women for their crimes, or which they believed were their crimes. The biggest form of punishment was hanging. The first to be hanged was Bridget Bishop on June 10th, 1692, who was hanged on the gallows. 13 women and 5 men were also followed her to the gallows. So despite the fact that hundreds of people were accused of witchcraft in only a short period of time, 20 people were actually executed for their crimes. Another form of execution, which only one man was guilty of, he was pressed to death, which was basically when they crushed him with rocks and put him on his chest. His name was Giles Corey. This was on September 16th of 1692. He refused to stand trial, so the court ordered the sheriff to pile rocks on him, and 3 days later, he was pressed to death.
Jesus Christ.
So by the end of this time, the hysteria was consumed in the town of Salem, Massachusetts. 150 men, women, and children convicted. 20 people were executed, 14 of which were women, and all were hanged, and 5 others were imprisoned. So in conclusion, I have explained how the witch trial started, what events took place, and the result of the extreme situation that took place in history. It is amazing how religion and evil had such an impact on the people during this time. And I'll just show a close-up of my timeline that I made. My audience.